Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach.
My name's Vivian. We're from out in the Lockyer Valley, and the reason we're here is because I'd like to have grandchildren.
What about yourself?
My name's Matthew, and I'm here because governments and corporations don't have the right to sleep in bed with one another.
The reason I'm here today is to protest against the poisoning of our food supply by Monsanto.
Why Monsanto? Well, it's one of these corporations which is making a profit rather than helping the public good in terms of priorities. And that is a worry because we live in a planet where we actually have to start cooperating with one another. And if we don't, we're in serious trouble.
I had a friend who had a dog. His name was Sharker. He was a Doberman. And the gardener came to the yard where he was and sprayed Roundup all over the place. About 6 months later, Sharker got lymphoma from drinking the rainwater out of the puddles.
That's
so he died because they sprayed Roundup in his yard.
One of the problems with it is that it was supposed to have a very short half-life in the soil, right, about 3-4 days, which is fantastic for a herbicide compared to things like atrazine, right, nasty poison, a worry for us, which would last something like 240 days. But I've found out since that the glyphosate will actually last under some conditions up to 241 days or more. And I'm going, whoops, this is a worry.
I actually am a horticulturalist by trade, and I used to work on golf courses. Glyphosate is not only residual in the soil. Monsanto claims that I think it's approximately 1 year residual. It can be up to 15 years in residual in the soil. It doesn't just kill the plants, it kills the soil and all microorganisms in the soil. So it's really the worst thing you can be putting on your land. And even like properties that are going for organic certification have to wait up to 10 years after that property has been previously sprayed with Monsanto products. So basically it's really bad for your soils.
Terminated seeds. Okay, so what they do is they usually put genes into the seed such that under certain conditions, bang. Now if those genes are transferred to other plants, right, which we actually want growing and not terminated, we have a problem. So it's a bit like putting in some sort of safety measure which is going to cause actually problems rather than actually protect us from things. So the impression I've got is the reason why they use the Terminator technology is so that farmers can't actually plant the seed, can't get the seed and plant it. They have to come back to Monsanto and buy it.
I believe that their attempt at domination of the world seed market is basically to control the food supply. Once you can control food, you can control people. Monsanto's long-term policy is to basically own the world food supply, and therefore if people get uppity, then they can just cut them off from the food supply. The seed banks are for the rich. Once they have destroyed the world's food supply through chem spraying, which is putting aluminium silicates in the soil, then they can come out of their bunkers later on and repopulate the world with their seed banks. Now I know this sounds a bit whoop whoop, but I can tell you it's happening, and if you check the research, it's happening right now. Look up in the skies of Brisbane and look at the chemtrails, and I have mates who are pilots. They're not spraying. It is not vapor trails behind planes. These are chemicals coming out of planes, and there are storms not long after they spray these chemicals in Brisbane right here.
Monsanto bovine growth hormone is used in many dairy farms around the world. What are the concerns of this drug in our dairy products?
Well, would you want to drink it?
No.
I'm not a cow and I don't want bovine growth hormone, and they don't want to tell you it's in there. It might make the cow give more milk, but what will it do to you?
They've given this hormone to a cow. They're not supposed to use the milk for the next 14 days, so they have to throw that away. Right? But I'm not sure whether they actually hold to that. But one of the concerns when they use this bovine growth hormone is they usually inject it. And so what happens is the cows get scar tissue all along their necks where they've been injecting it. And it's actually an animal welfare issue. And this is one of the ethical issues that arises from this sort of use of the technology. The other problem is promoting the growth, production of milk. But I didn't realise that we actually had a shortage of milk. I mean, there seems to be lots of it. We had mountains of butter in Europe. We convert a lot of our milk into cheese, etc. So why do we actually need it?
So scientists believe that Monsanto biotech crops are spawning new species of pesticide-resistant superbugs that have the potential to disaster food crops worldwide. How important is food security to you?
Well, I have a suspicion that it is important in the sense that if I don't eat, I don't live. Right? It's a bit like air. I mean, I do need the oxygen. And it's a bit water. So if I don't have food, I don't have air, or I don't have water, I have a problem. So when we're talking about food security, it's extremely important. And what we're doing, it seems, with the sort of like the gene technology and so on, is we keep on using the same inappropriate methods of agricultural practices, which basically destroy the soil fauna. Okay, which means then we have to start putting fertilisers, artificial fertilisers in, etc. So we just get on this chemical treadmill, and then we have to use chemicals to control the pests, whether they be the weeds, whether they be insect pests, and so forth, and not making use of the natural defences that are there. So if we actually had healthy plants, then they'd be able to protect themselves against the weeds and the things. So food security, absolutely critical.
Monsanto now owns the world's largest mercenary army, formerly known as Blackwater, now known as XE Services. It's famous for killing civilians in Iraq. How does killing innocent families sit with you?
Oh no. No, I mean, they got no business being in Iraq in the first place because it was all lies about these weapons of mass destruction. They were never there. They just wanted to go in there and steal their oil. No, no killing. It's wrong.
It's like the troops that we have overseas, they're not there to give these other countries democracy. They're there to protect the foreign corporate interests of groups like ExxonMobil, Monsanto, Halliburton, all these oil contracts and stuff in the Middle East. And when in the Iraq War, when America was bombing Baghdad, it was the Australian SCS, the most elite of our army forces, was guarding the Iraqi oil fields when America was bombing Baghdad. And you look at the way that the security troops over there are protecting the sites where ExxonMobil and all that are. This is not about giving these people democracy. It's about resources and money and power.
So what would be your message to the Australian public about Monsanto?
Oh, tread very wisely and very carefully. Critically evaluate what you hear about them. And personally, what I'll be doing is that I'd like to know more about what they're actually doing, how they're doing it, how they've tested it. So I want to know about the reliability, the validity of the tests they've done on the GM foods, so that we know that it's actually safe for people to use.
Don't buy anything that they make.
What would you say to the Monsanto executives?
Same thing.
Same thing.
All right. How about a change of mindset, right? So that we actually they're there for a public good, and if it happens to make a profit, that's simply a bonus. But first priority should be public good.
What I would say to them, seeing that they created this, is to explain to the worldwide public what a company that was originally created for chemicals, that had nothing to do with food or agriculture, it was originally a chemical company, what the hell they're doing trying to do this to our food. I'm sure, see that Agent Orange, which is about the chemical they sprayed on Vietnam to remove foliage and to poison farmland, to try to starve out victims and to remove leaves from trees so that they couldn't hide for cover. It was purposely done by this same corporation, and would you trust that with your food?
No.
You're
You're
watching me
on Aussie Beach TV.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. The hottest girl